Hi, everyone. I'm Deidre Perry. I'm here with Executive Board Member of Enneagram Las Vegas, Sarah Morellis, and we're excited to be here with Scott Allender, one of our featured presenters at the Enneagram Las Vegas Community Gathering happening October 3rd through the 4th at the South Point Hotel and Casino. Scott is an expert in global leadership and organizational development, and he's both a certified Enneagram teacher and an emotional intelligence coach. He's the author of the Enneagram of Emotional Intelligence. I love this cover. And even more, I love how it reflects the power of combining the Enneagram with emotional intelligence. Scott also created the Enneaflip, which is a quick guide to the 9 Enneagram types at work and in relationships. And he also co-hosts the Evolving Leader podcast. On Friday, October 3rd, Scott will be presenting his session, Improve Your Emotional Intelligence and Improve Your Relationships. Scott, thank you for being here today. Your book really highlights the power of bringing the Enneagram and emotional intelligence together. To start, what first inspired you to combine those two in your work?
Well, thanks for having me. First and foremost, it's a pleasure to be with you both, having this conversation. And so the reason I wrote the book, the reason I focus on this is because I've been an emotional intelligence coach for 10 years now. Been researching emotional intelligence and the implications on people's success and well-being, both personally and professionally. And since the mid-90s, we've seen more and more research and data that's been published around just how important emotional intelligence is to our success. Something like 70 to 75%, depending on which stats you look at. The cornerstone of which is this thing called self-awareness. We can't have emotional intelligence without self-awareness. But as I worked with people, I grew increasingly disheartened about the results. And I started digging into self-awareness a little bit more deeply and discovered that even though 95% of people think they're self-aware, the data suggests that it's really around 15%. So we know that emotional intelligence is the key to your success, the key to your well-being, the key to your relationships, the key to your managing stress, the key to your decision-making, and on and on and on and on. And yet the very foundation of it, self-awareness, we don't know how to build it or sustain it. So I wanted to overlay the Enneagram on top of the framework that's been studied and understood and validated emotional intelligence by using the Enneagram as a tool to go deeper into excavating things about ourselves that we may not yet know. So my premise really essentially is that we're not self-aware because there's so much about ourselves we don't know. So when people approach us and have conversations with us about emotional intelligence, or we read something, or we say, hey, I want to improve this part of my emotional intelligence, we're trying to make adjustments to the part of ourselves that are already known, the sort of areas that we show the world and that we show ourselves. Yet underneath all of this is layers and layers of, repressed needs, fears, wounded messages and pain and all sorts of things where our personalities have served to protect us year by year and layer over so many things that we lose sight of much of who we really are. And so what I did with the book and what I do with my teaching is to try to say, okay, we know emotional intelligence is the key to so much of your life. And we also know that many of us don't really know what's going on outside of our consciousness minute by minute. That's informing how we see, how we think, how we feel, how we show up to each other. All the patterns that we're dissatisfied with when we look in the rearview mirror of our life and we see all these fender benders and crashes and explosions and we don't know why. The Enneagram was an invitation to look deeper and to uncover the stuff that's in the shadows that we may have not wanted to see or just haven't known to look for. And so that's why I was motivated to do this work, to write this book.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you put that really well. I really enjoyed your book. Actually read the book before I met you. So really lucky that we got the chance to meet. And it's probably one of the books I've highlighted more than any other book because there's so many meaningful parts and, taking all the 9 types and then talking about how you can apply emotional intelligence within all the different types and where the hangups will be. And I think it's great. And I always say, there's one thing about knowing yourself. There's another about doing something with it. So what are you doing with what you learn? So I think it's great. In reading a little bit, just really entertaining. And I'm so glad you'll be joining us at our conference in a couple weeks. I'm wondering, I know besides your corporate engagements, you also spend some time coaching people and working with leaders specifically to help them develop their emotional intelligence. I'm just curious what you enjoy most about those interactions.
There are many things. What comes to mind first is the opportunity to witness small shifts in someone who is trying to figure out how to deal with maybe a difficult relationship, make decisions, in a way that is more impactful, more closely aligned with their intentions, have more confidence, know how to lead complex teams, whatever they're after. And it's not because of me by any means, but having the opportunity to work with leaders and afford them the chance to create enough of a pause in their day to have some intentional reflection and use question methodology to help them discover the answers that are more often than not, already within them, but they are always on and always having to deal with communications and just people wanting them. And there's so much busyness in the average leader's life, probably more so than ever, that it's not often that they allow themselves the opportunity to create enough space to even really reflect. And reflection sounds too much like a luxury when it's actually an essential part of becoming a really effective leader. Also, reflection is not something you have to do on your own. And I think when leaders have a chance to work with a coach like myself or somebody else, they end up doing a lot of reflection with us, right? It's this opportunity to sort of have a sounding board and to process and think out loud and to, challenge themselves or be challenged. And so when that yields some kind of shift, and I don't look for the big monumental 180-degree turnabouts because those are rarely sustainable. But I believe very much in the sort of directional change of 1 degree or 2 degrees at a time, which when that happens, that's when I know there's some real sticking power at play because, a 1 degree change of direction from where you're heading today doesn't feel like you've gone anywhere different tomorrow. But if you trace that 1 degree over the course of 365 days, you're in a completely different place than you used to be or would have been. So I love the privilege that it is to be a sounding board, to ask some questions, to challenge assumptions in these leaders and help them create some lasting breakthrough.
Yeah, that's great. And a 1% shift doesn't feel too impossible. And,
Yeah,
it feels,
it's
okay,
doable.
we're going to have this session and I can make a 1% shift. That's a doable
Yeah.
thing, right? Totally
Yeah.
agree. And maybe this ties into the workshop you're preparing for the session. I know it's going to be 90 minutes of a bunch of great stuff. I'm not sure how you're going to put all of this wisdom into 90 minutes, but as you're thinking about it, we'd love to tell our listeners and our Enneagram community here, what are you really hoping are the 1 or 2 things that people can take away from your session?
It's a great question. For me, I think relationships are central to the well-being of our lives. And whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, whether you're super social or not, this whole session and large part of the conference is really around relationship. And I think for anyone who's considering coming, all of us, I believe, have at least one relationship that we wish was a little bit better, where we felt a little more connected, or we felt that we had less conflict with that person. Maybe we really, really care deeply for them, but there's something that's kind of broken there or just something that could be improved and we don't really know what to do about it. I think the invitation of my session is to look at what is often very unconscious patterns that we bring to the whole of our life, including our relationships, that often creates a delta between our best intentions and the impact that we have. So instead of focusing on how do you fix this relationship or make this relationship better, I like to look at this as, what about the relationship with ourselves first? How do we need to start seeing ourselves differently? How do we need to start connecting with parts of our patterns that we might not even fully understand that are actually having a pretty sizable impact on our loved ones or even our colleagues? So I hope that my hope is in 90 minutes that there will be enough reflection, as we talked about with the last question, enough opportunity to pause and have a few new insights that will then be something that people can take away and create those 1 degree shifts at home and at work or wherever matters to them.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that it will. Thanks for that. Thanks.
Of course. I'm excited. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
Yeah, Scott, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation today. And thanks for joining us. We're looking forward to having you at the Enneagram Las Vegas Community Gathering on Friday, October 3rd at the South Point Hotel and Casino for your session, Improve Your Emotional Intelligence and Improve Your Relationships. And for everyone to be a part of 2 days of learning and connection and growth. We really look forward to seeing you there. If you would like to register or for more information, please visit our website. It is www.enneagramlasvegas.com. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Steve. Thanks, Scott.
Bye.